Hello, my banter kings and queens. This is your girl Antoinette, and today we have a special guest, my best friend Mark. We've known each other for so long since college, and I'm so excited to have him here today. We're going to go over Love is Blind UK episodes 5 through 9. And honestly, it's not going to be in order because that's not how we do things here. We're just going to have our thoughts. We're just going to have our thoughts and talk about all our thoughts with what happened between 5 and 9. And yeah, so this is Bits of Banter with Antoinette and our guest Mark. Yay!
Well, thanks for having me, Antoinette. I hope I get some time to talk. I know you. But yeah, I don't know how I got here.
I know. Honestly, you almost didn't make it. We had a lot of offers, but you know what? I was like, let me throw him a bone.
What people can't see is that I'm tied and gagged. I'm a hog tied in her basement. But
Quiet.
She feeds me, so I'm happy.
I feed him, guys, okay? Literally.
She made me these little sandwiches.
Oh, were they sandwiches? Oh, you got fed well today, then. Okay, I literally all day. I wish we had been recording all day because, like, we've been talking, guys. We've been talking about this all day.
But I think we'll have new discussion. There's a lot to talk about.
Agreed. Okay, so should we start with episode? Okay, maybe should we talk about each person by couple?
Sure. Are we doing like just a general perspective on?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's first. You know what we should do, because we did already talk about this, but I feel like we could go deeper into it. Let's first talk about the cheating thing between.
Okay.
Let's first talk about Catherine and what's his name? What's his name? Catherine and Freddie. How did I forget his name? I don't know.
He's literally everything that matters in this world. You don't remember him?
I honestly don't know how I forgot him, because literally we have been stalking him on Twitter and on on TikTok and on Instagram all day. So my brain's just trying to forget that I've been stalking him. So that's what happened here. Okay, so what are we thinking about? Like, when do you think the shift happened? Because we had talked about how he went from being so sweet, so cheeky, like really seeming like he was just so lively, to all of a sudden now it just looks like doesn't smile as much. He's not joking as much. Like, when do you feel like that switch happened?
I think that switch happened definitely when the cheating conversation. No, I mean, I think this was bound to happen. So let's think about that. But I think when it was clear that there was underlying sort of differences on how they interact with people, I think is when the cheating conversation came up. You know, we saw one person that was more willing to forgive and forget, another one that likes to sort of brand someone or give someone the scarlet letter, you know.
Ooh.
And yeah.
I definitely feel like the cheating conversation I like how you said scarlet letter, because I do feel like the cheating conversation really showed like her inability to see past certain things. Like, once she has an idea, that's it. Like, that's it. And I feel like that's the same thing where, like, she was kind of sold on him for a little bit, especially after she saw him. Like, because I didn't believe that she was really into him at first. I really think she was into Ollie. But when she saw him, you know, like at the reveal, I feel like she was like, oh, okay, I have the jackpot. But I agree, that cheating conversation, just everything shifted. Everything shifted.
She was vulnerable in that instance too. Like, if you see preceding the cheating conversation, she was more opening up to Freddie. Like, she was going down the path of, listen, this is why I'm insecure. We saw her turn towards that path, go towards that, you know, that opening in the forest. But then she turned around and decided, no, instead I'm going to go down the one to now make this about you and your mistakes. It's very interesting. And it's primarily her ability to really talk about herself and be vulnerable, maybe. Because we don't know. Maybe she's treated her. It looks like she may have treated her partners, her ex-partners, in very negative ways, maybe. And we don't even know that. Just because they haven't cheated doesn't mean you haven't caused harm. And for her to just say cheating is the ultimate harm and therefore yada, 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 I think it really dehumanizes the situation, you know.
Are we preaching today? I did not know that we were preaching today.
Earlier, I was stupid, everyone.
No. I honestly, earlier, just let us hear, okay?
Yeah.
Let us hear.
We had to really,
we had to flesh out our thoughts. We had to flesh out our thoughts.
I just read something, and it said that cheating is associated with a behavior and not a habit or not a natural sort of disorder, but it can be indicative of mental disorder. So,
really?
So for example, compulsive cheating is related to narcissism, antisocial behavior, borderline personality disorder. So maybe, the question is more about a larger question of like getting to know someone and their mental health.
I agree. I was not aware that we were like going down this path, but
we don't have to go down this path. But I'm thinking like cheating is like, we all make mistakes, but it's kind of like, why are you making those mistakes? And how often are you making mistakes? Mm-hmm. Are you trying to avoid those mistakes? Like those are the real questions.
I agree. And I feel like there was a misstep. I mean, obviously we don't get to see everything, but on this show, we go off of what we see, okay? What we see, as well as whatever I interpret. Okay, so we read between the lines sometimes, but in general, I do feel like there's a part of this, because I remember the beginning of the conversation, she was asking him, if he trusted her fully, and he said yes. And then he asked her, do you trust me fully? And she was, like you were saying, she was being vulnerable. She was talking about her past. And she said, it just takes me a little bit longer. And then that's when she asks him, have you ever cheated? And this is a part where I feel like we have to know ourselves, because in this instance, this should have been a question she should have asked in the pods. Because as soon as he said, yes, I cheated, her facial expression changed. I don't even think she was hearing him anymore. She wasn't even listening anymore to him. At that point, all she saw was that he was a cheater. All she saw was people who have cheated on her in the past. And this is something, if this is such a big, not saying that's not, if it's such a big deal, it is a big deal. Cheating is a big deal. But like, it's a case-by-case basis. I think if she knew that this was something for her, that would have been like, no matter what the context, no matter if this is something like how Freddie, it was 7 years ago, he's never cheated again. He very remorseful. He definitely doesn't think he did anything right. He definitely took accountability in this conversation. He's like, this wasn't okay. It was a long time ago, but he doesn't think, he's like, oh, yeah, it happened, whatever. He definitely takes accountability for his actions and is remorseful. So, but if you're somebody who can't take it by case basis, can't accept somebody for, that mistake, then that's something you should have asked in the pods, because that should have been one of the first things you asked, so you could weed people out. You're like, I can't get past this. This is a trauma of mine. I've been cheated on every single relationship. It is literally a no-go for me. I literally cannot be with somebody who has cheated. That, and I think that's for her, where it's like, you did yourself a disservice and you did Freddie a disservice by not bringing this up earlier.
See, I think is it realistic to cut off, if you're dating someone, you ask them, hey, have you cheated? Is it realistic to cut someone off because of that? Like, do you preclude them? Like, just saying, hey, he's cheated, I'm going to choose someone that's never cheated. Are you really doing yourself a favor? Are you doing yourself a disfavor? That person could be everything you dreamed of and more. Big dick, good money, good family, like in that order. Like, I
mean, we have seen Freddie's package, so she would have been missing out on some.
Wait, have we?
Yeah, I mean, okay, we haven't. No, I wish. No, I have not. I have not seen it personally, but okay. I mean, we saw him in his underwear, and it didn't look small.
Okay, so yeah, it was like I don't know. I feel like there's more. I mean, should you would you date someone who's been to prison? Shit.
Okay, so I would say it depends on why they went to prison.
Right.
And okay, I think it would be hard for me, for sure, to date someone who went to prison. I don't think it's something that I would automatically be like, if they told me that. I think it'd be something where like I'd have to like have somehow started to like them, and then I think I could get past it. But it obviously,
Right.
the context, I think it depends. But that also, the cheating things depends for me too. I don't have a
Yeah.
trauma with cheating. I don't. Like, that hasn't been my story, where like I haven't had a lot of relationships where people have cheated on me. And so it's not a trauma for me. So if somebody told me, if somehow we got on that conversation and somebody told me that they cheated, I would ask more questions. If this is something where I'm like, okay, one of the questions I thought was great that she asked, she's like, okay, was it just one time? And was this the only time you cheated? Those were good questions. Because if someone's like, yeah, I've cheated in every relationship. Okay, yeah, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's something that I don't know if I would continue with that person, because at that point I would start to question if I could trust them. Even though that's not a trauma for me, I'd be like, oh, you've cheated in every relationship and we're in our 30s. Okay, if you said every relationship and you've only been in one relationship, okay, obvious. But if you're 33, 34, you've been in like 5 relationships and all 5 you've cheated in, okay, yeah, there's something going on there. There's something going on there that would make me feel like I don't know if I could trust you to not cheat, because it seems like that's a pattern for you. Right?
Exactly. Like it would be a pattern. That would be a red flag for sure. Like I constantly cheat. Like I just imagine the voice, yeah, I cheat.
Yeah, I
Like
just cheat. Yeah, of course, every relationship
no,
I've
but like
cheated.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't think cheating is a good thing. I don't think it means you take your relationship as seriously. You're not willing to communicate. Really there's really specific things that cheating to me alludes to, like faults of the person, or like, how things I can work on. But yeah, for me, if I it's all a matter of what are you willing to really understand that person?
Mm,
From that scene with Kat and Freddie, she lacked the sort of empathy that I would love to see that Freddie definitely deserves. The one thing Freddie deserves is empathy from his partner, because
100%.
he's giving it on like 100, 1,000%. And so her lack of empathy, it's for me, it's a mismatch. Like I don't even think of like, oh my god, Kat's a bad person, she's like cheating. It's more like she's not even feeling like, I'm sorry to hear that you cheated. You don't know how he feels. She won't even give him that acknowledgement, like that he is just coming from the same moral framework, and that you
Mm.
guys both see that that's the same, and now you guys can identify with, oh, I'm so sorry you went through that. That's where they could have met, but instead she said, you're not like me, Freddie, and I
Yeah.
don't know
I
if
mean,
I
I
can
don't
accept
know if
your
I
kind.
would. I don't know if I'd be like, I'm so sorry you went through that.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I agree with you on like, she could have come from a place of like, I was like, oh, you poor thing, you cheated. I don't know if I'm that elevated and
I'm like,
involved.
are you with me, everyone?
No, literally, there's gonna be a lot of comments. I mean, I only have 30 subscribers, so I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of comments, but like, there might be comments about that, what you just said. But hey, we're gonna move on from that part. But I do think I agree with you in the fact that like, this could have been a productive conversation
Yes, yeah,
where they actually became closer and understood each other more.
yeah.
But I don't blame Kat for not being able to have that type of conversation where they could get closer. Where I think her accountability is that she should have brought this up earlier. This should have been a pod conversation, because you need to know yourself. Her whole thing is, once a cheater, always a cheater. I literally can't trust you anymore. She's literally, since that time, the attitudes that she's had, the way that she's treated him has been like night and day. And the way that
Oh my gosh.
right?
Like she's talking about cheating, but the way she was flirting with Sam in front of him was classic mean girl abuse. It was emotional abuse, mental abuse.
It was passive aggressive.
Yeah, it's passive aggressive.
And pretty, but like a little highly on the aggressive aspect of the passive part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that she was retaliating. That's her retaliating.
Yep.
That was her retaliating. Yeah, let's move on from the cheating thing. I do think this conversation could have been more productive. Let's wrap it up for her. The conversation could have been more productive. She should have had this conversation in the pod because she obviously has a trauma here. And you could see from her facial expression, she stopped listening. As soon as he said that, she could not hear anything he said. And all she thought is, he's a cheater. And you could see in her face, she's just like, that's all she saw. And after that, she just should have done herself and him she did herself and him a disservice by not having that conversation earlier in the pod. But now let's go to the what's it called when they all met up with I hate the pod squad, but whatever, with the pod squad.
I caught that.
I agree. Oh my God. Like the way that she acted. Okay. What do you think about what Freddie said? That's what I asked first. About Charlotte. Do you think what he did was wrong?
Very attractive. I think he said that was triggering for her was she's very attractive. Mm-hmm. She's very attractive. I don't know how to do it. She's very attractive. And the thing about it is, okay, let's go back. Charlotte said before that, is there anyone you think she was baiting again? She likes to bait people into conversations that she's ready to pounce on. That's what she does. So like, she's like, is there anyone you think is attractive? Like she said, no. She said, Sam looks like my ex. Sam looks like my ex. She kept repeating it. And for me, that's actually more hurtful than someone responding to my question about who they think is attractive. Because for me, you're like, first of all, bringing up an ex. You're bringing up like some level of excitement about your ex.
Yeah.
And you're bringing, like, he's right in the room. I mean, and then for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever the editing minutes later, she's then flirting with him.
She said it like a million times, though. He looks just like my ex. He looks just like my ex. I was like, okay. So does he look like your ex? Does he look like your ex? And that's obviously your ex is somebody that you found attractive. Like, I mean, that's an assumption I'm making. Is your ex is somebody that you found attractive? Like, it's not like you're like, oh, he looks like my ugly ex. Okay, so you looked really excited. You kept bringing it up, like spitting image. How do you think Freddie feels about that conversation, right? Like, that's obviously uncomfortable. I'd be like, why is she? It's not like one thing like, oh, that person looks like my ex. I get bringing it up because, like, if somebody literally looked like the spitting image of my ex, and hey, I'm with my spouse, like, I talk about things with my spouse. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I could say that to Alex, my spouse, but like, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, because then I think it'd be like, okay, why are you so obsessed about this? Like, you know what I mean? That would make me feel uncomfortable. I think that would make anybody's spouse feel uncomfortable if they just like were harping on it. And that's what she was doing. She was harping on it.
Yeah. She really wanted him to maybe make him feel uncomfortable because of the way he's kind of been distant from her. Like, I feel like at this point, Freddie was like done with her bullshit. Like he was over it. And like, I think she could she could feel him pulling away. She's getting more reckless with her tactics and more bold with her tactics.
Yeah.
And these things are Freddie's not about. Like, this is a very fundamental difference. Like, Freddie's about to be like, hey, let's talk about this. Look at me. And then she's about to be like, no, I'd rather just fuck with your head. Like, she's just much more like not as leading with her heart as with her mind.
I mean, there's one thing she says. I was just looking at this. She says, she says that she thinks they have different love languages, and then all of a sudden she's not feeling confident in herself. And because Freddie doesn't understand it, I think I'm struggling with that, and it's not nice. And she also brings up to Mariah, is it Maria? That I guess Freddie had said something about like, oh, if you walked out in whatever, I wouldn't notice. Which I honestly, for me, I'd want to know the context of that conversation. Like, did he really say something like, if you walked out in lingerie, I just wouldn't notice? Like, what? So no, I think I need more context there because I'm like, what type of conversation was this? Was he saying like, I feel so comfortable with you that like, I think it's okay for us to walk around naked. Like, I'm not going to like pounce on you every time you're naked. Like, I think we're comfortable in that way that like we can be like walk around in our underwear together and it would be okay. Like we're, you know what I mean? Like when you're with somebody, like, you know, like in my relationship, yes, he lets me know all the time that he thinks I'm very attractive and like that, you know, he wants me sexually. Okay. Awesome. But also like, I like to walk around naked. I don't think if I like to walk around naked and I wouldn't want somebody constantly like trying to have sex with me every time I'm naked. Like, because that's something that it becomes uncomfortable. So I don't know if he was trying to say that, like, oh, like it would be okay for you to walk around in your underwear, you know, like, I don't know. There's just something about that conversation that I feel like we just didn't get the full thing.
I completely agree. I completely agree that like we're missing a big part of how, and I'm not, this is Kat we're talking about.
Yeah.
She's not really being as, she doesn't see things as clearly as most of us.
Agreed.
I think she's making things out the way she wants to see them, and like she's trying to manipulate situations so she could actually control them. Like,
yeah.
And so like, she's trying to, and like it's the same thing with when she was with her friends at dinner or lunch, and like this is when Freddie was like peak mad.
Wait, we can't, let's not skip. I'm trying to find the part where she asks him. So she says, what do you think of all the girls now that you've seen them? That's what he said, Charlotte, I spoke to her briefly. She's nice. And then he kind of looks and he's like, yeah, I think she's attractive. And then she said, all right, I heard you the first time. And then she's like, you don't know when to stop, do you, babe? So she asked him what he thinks of the girls. Right? That's what happened. She said, what do you think of all the girls now that you've seen them? That's what she said. Okay, guys, every girl, every guy, don't ask questions you don't want answers to. Okay? Let's all be more mindful. Okay? It's not very demure. It's not very cutesy. It's not very mindful. To ask questions you can't have any answer to. You asked him, what do you think of all the girls now that you've seen them? Freddie had literally just said hi to Charlotte. Literally, he had just said hi to Charlotte. And so he said, oh, hey, I talked to Charlotte briefly. And she said, yeah. And he said, yeah. And then he looked and he's like, yeah, I think she's attractive. That's really not that big of a deal. I mean, okay, I'm going to be the devil's advocate. Did he need to add that she was very attractive? Probably not. That could have been.
Well, here's the thing. Why else would he like her? The thing is, why else would he like her? He only knows her through her looks. And she knew, like, what Catherine was really asking, is there anyone you think is hot?
100%. No, 100%.
And so, like, does he need to say? He's like, any answer he says is an affirmation of yes, that person's hot. Because anything else would be a lie. Like, what do you say? Yeah, I like Charlotte because she seems like a nice person.
Yeah.
I mean, she does seem sweet though.
I mean, like from her looks, from like the just looking at her, sure, she seems sweet. Like, I don't know, like you don't see much of her. Like, it's not like, yeah. Like, she seems fine. I do think I would, if it was me. So the thing is, I don't like, you ask stupid questions, you get stupid answers. I wouldn't ask that question if I wasn't okay.
Yeah, exactly.
If I wasn't okay with, so I lost Mark for a second and then he had to go. But where we kind of left off, and we'll pick this up later, but was Catherine and Freddie at the Pod Squad meetup. And for when we're talking about playing devil's advocate in a way, I do think that, okay, maybe Freddie shouldn't have said that. If we're playing devil's advocate, I think maybe Freddie shouldn't have said that. But in general, it was really just one comment. He didn't keep going on and on like how Kat did, as well as the way that I do feel like Kat ends up being a bit passive aggressive later on because she's upset about what he said. Then she goes and flirts with Sam. And I'm like, why though? Like, why are you going to flirt with Sam? Like, Sam's, You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I think she was trying to make Freddie jealous, which I do think she made him a little bit jealous. I mean, he ends up saying that later, but like, it doesn't make sense for her to be acting this way. And you can tell, like, after this whole cheating thing, she really, everything changes. The way she treats him changes. I mean, the whole scene with them in the store, they end up being, what's it called? The whole thing with them in the store, he's joking around, trying to be lighthearted. She's just snapping. He's like petting, like loving on her. She's like, don't pet me. I'm not a dog. I'm like, what is going on, dude? It's very obvious that she is triggered. She's triggered. But also, like, I feel like in some ways she feels insecure, which we talked about. And now in a way, she's almost trying to make him insecure. And I don't know, I don't think she's doing this on purpose, but I do think there's a subconscious thing of like bringing him down with her. I don't know. What do you guys think? Right now, I got to go. So I'm going to end this here and then I'm going to pick this up later. But please like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. And I love these little chats of ours. Love you, mean it. Bye.